Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2026 Meet Your Future sessions. Today's focus is on the engineering and manufacturing sector as part of National Careers Week, as part of our National Careers Week celebration here in Greater Manchester. I'm Jake. I'm part of the Education Work and Skills team here at Greater Manchester Combined Authority. And for those of you that have joined before, if you've not joined before, you might be aware that Meet Your Future was launched in 2019 by Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester. It's to give young people like yourselves the chance to meet real employers, explore different career pathways and hear inspirational stories. And I really hope today's session inspires you and helps you feel more confident about your future here in Greater Manchester. Next slide. We're going to be talking today about engineering and manufacturing, so that's one of our key sector gateways here in Greater Manchester. And what we call them is the MBAC gateways. There's 7 MBAC gateways in Greater Manchester, and they match different sectors to different areas of industry across the city region. Each gateway will guide you towards the most relevant knowledge, skills and experience, and it's employer backed as well. So we're joined today by an employer, and they've been created using facts and figures around employment in Greater Manchester, and will lead you to those high quality jobs here in the future, and hopefully will give you that clear line of sight into how you would see yourself in those positions. Next slide, please. So engineering and manufacturing, so turning innovative ideas into real products by designing them, testing and improving everything from machine components to textiles and chemicals, all the way through to civil engineering, which we'll talk about today. Looking into advanced manufacturing, so engineering hubs across Greater Manchester, there's plenty of opportunities to build industrial legacy. Some of the key jobs within the gateway itself, so we've got welders, mechanical engineers, product designers, but you also might like to explore different sectors and different regions within that as well, so we can talk about more the construction side of things and the manufacturing side as well. If you enjoy designing and building things and experimenting with technology and machines and solving problems, then this might be the gateway for you. We know in Greater Manchester there's 105,000 people working across the engineering and manufacturing sector, and the average salary is about £38,963, but this is likely to be lower when you're starting out. That could be if you're an apprentice, if you're in training, or if you're working part-time. And it's worthwhile noting as well, there's plenty of exciting opportunities and projects happening across the city region, like Atom Valley, and that's creating up to 20,000 new jobs, working with plenty of different technologies of the future across the city region. In today's session, you're going to be hearing from Molly Barnes, who's an apprentice design engineer at MGF Engineering, based here in Greater Manchester. And just some quick housekeeping before we get started. So there is a Q&A box. Please, if you've got any questions for Molly or myself today, pop them into that Q&A box. We can get them answered at the end for you. If you would like any captions or any subtitles, just jump into the audio and transcribing settings and you can enable them today. But without further ado, we'll get started. So Molly, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, hope you can all hear me. So my name's Molly and I'm a design engineer at MGF. I'm currently on the degree apprenticeship programme in my 3rd year out of 5. To start off with, I'll give you a little bit of an introduction about myself, kind of how I got this job and how I've ended up doing this today, basically. So in May 2021, I finished St Mary's High School. Throughout school, I actually worked really quite hard and I was rewarded with quite good GCSE results. So in the September, I started the St Mary's 6th form in Astley. I studied maths, physics and biology. 6th form was genuinely the biggest academic challenge I've faced. The jump from 6th form felt massive and I really began to struggle. I felt really out of my depth for the very first time, but it turns out everybody else also felt the exact same way. So we ended up putting extra sessions and me and my cohort ended up getting really quite good A-level results too. In the September of 2022, I began starting to apply for university. I visited a few campuses and I was in the process of working out what I actually wanted to study when Stephen Barker, who is MGF's engineering director, came into the college to do a talk to the students about civil engineering, MGF and what they can offer, very similar to the talk that I'm doing here today. I had never once considered becoming a civil engineer, but following that talk, I knew it was something that I could be interested in. I'd also never thought about doing an apprenticeship. I thought apprenticeships were all on site or like manual labour, which was not something that I was interested in. But it turns out it was not the case at all. The thought of no uni debt and the idea of getting paid to work definitely seemed like a win. So it was something that I began to research. I sent my CV across to Stephen Barker and was invited for an interview. The interview process went a lot smoother than what I was expecting. I had 2 interviews with different employees and managers at MGF, and I also had to do like a small maths and reasoning test. I was really nervous for the interviews because obviously I'd never been to an interview in like a professional situation, but they were really smooth and they really understanding considering I'd never done it before. In December, I was told that I'd actually got the job. So in the March, I decided to do some work experience here at MGF. It was a really great experience. I got to meet the future colleagues that I'd be working with. I got to see the desks that I'd be working from, and it really quashed those first day nerves so that in September, when I did begin working, I'd kind of been there and done it all and tried it out for a week before I started. So I was nowhere near as nervous as I imagine I would have been. So since then, I've progressed on to a design engineer and I coordinate workload for the North. So I work alongside attending university, which is great for development because day to day I apply theoretical knowledge from university and I use it to complete real world civil engineering projects. So you might be wondering what actually is civil engineering. So civil engineers do a wide range of things. We build houses, hospitals, schools, and other infrastructure projects that we use day to day. We provide designs and we deliver transport that moves us around like airports, roads, and railways. We provide water and energy that keeps everyone alive, and we design the cities and the towns that we all live in. And most importantly, we do all of this as sustainably as possible because we need to help solve those global and environmental problems that will affect everybody. So MGF, the company that I work for, it is a company that designs and supplies temporary support systems to keep construction sites safe at all stages of the construction process. We have 13 depots across the country. We work nationwide, so we provide safe solutions to customers across the whole of the UK and Ireland. We work in 3 key areas, so that's excavation support, lifting and safety, and structural support. So from the initial inquiry to the delivery of the equipment on site, MGF provide the technical support at every stage, whether it's a small residential dig like a burst water main, for example, or a major infrastructure project like a basement support or a facade retention. We can sustainably provide design, resource and equipment to meet the needs of the customer without compromising safety, efficiency or compliance. So I personally work within the engineering department at MGF. So these are just kind of a handful of tasks that I complete on a day-to-day basis. I assemble drawings in softwares like Revit or AutoCAD. I design temporary structures that stop building or ground from collapsing whilst construction work's happening. I develop safe installation and removal methods. I advise customers from a technical aspect, and I occasionally attend site visits and site meetings to solve some complex issues. On the next few slides, I'll show a few of the MGF's case studies. So these are just a handful of the larger projects that our engineers have worked on. The first one I'll touch on is the Anfield Road Football Stadium, which is at Liverpool FC. It was a part of an £80 million redevelopment which aims to add an extra 7,000 seats, boosting the ground's overall capacity to more than 61,000. The specialist structural support solution was required to provide support to the existing roof, while the old roof was removed and replaced. The next one is St Michael's Basement Support in Manchester. MGF was selected to support this £400 million development. We contributed to the design and implementation of the basement support. The customer requested a 12.5 metre deep, 3-storey basement structure, so we had to provide the support for that. The proposed buildings located in the centre of Manchester, so the surrounding buildings are listed and historically significant, so therefore we had to maintain safety and the structural integrity of those buildings and ensure ground movement was limited to keep them safe. So these are just a couple of the jobs that we work on day to day. We actually have a whole host of other case studies on the website. If it is something that you're interested in, you can have a little bit of a read up on the website on there. So MGF, we offer a wide range of apprenticeships throughout the business, not only civil engineering, but the whole list is shown on there. Last week, MGF was actually named the Apprentice Employer of the Year by Salford University. The award recognised MGF's ongoing commitment to developing young talent and creating real career opportunities throughout apprenticeships. The MGF developed the Civil Engineering Grassroots Apprenticeship Scheme about 6 years ago, so the aim was to develop students in the local area. Stephen Barker, MGF's Engineering Director, and Lee Womersley, the Head of Design, volunteer as enterprise advisors for Greater Manchester Combined Authority. So they actually work within the Wigan region, providing support on improving careers education for all the students. So at MGF, the intake of apprenticeships, it varies year on year. So if you are interested, you can go onto the website and take a look, see what apprenticeships are offered this year. And if there is nothing stated on the website or the subject that you're interested in isn't listed in there, you can email us and see if it is something like, if we have got any vacancies for you, basically. But if civil engineering is the career that you are contemplating, then these are the possible routes for you at MGF. As a high school leaver, you can get an engineering technician apprenticeship where you'll, on day release basis, you can attend college and then you work the remaining 4 days of the week. You gain valuable skills at work whilst also learning how to be an AutoCAD technician. It'll take you approximately 3 years to complete, and then you'll sit the EngTech endpoint assessment with the Institution of Civil Engineers. Alternatively, as a college leaver, you can get a degree apprenticeship. So this is the 5-year course, which I'm currently on, and I attend Salford University on a day release basis. And upon completion of my degree, I will sit an endpoint assessment for the incorporated engineer qualification. So both the routes will end in an educational qualification and a professional qualification. The apprenticeship scheme can allow people to progress professionally faster than you can, because you can gain that vital experience whilst also still in education. On the previous slides, you might have noticed that each apprenticeship's got a relevant level associated with it. So this is like the level of education that you'll be following the completion of the course. So this slide kind of details what each level is and what it's equivalent to. So you can refer back to this if it is something that you're interested in. Finally, I'm going to quickly touch upon what attributes a successful apprenticeship or a successful engineer would possess, and I'm going to give a little bit of advice that I wish someone had told me before I started applying for these roles. So after speaking to a few of my colleagues, the major trait that all successful engineers possess is the willingness to learn. Starting a new job is daunting, especially as a young person who might be experiencing the world of work for the first time. It's unlikely that you're going to know what you're doing from day one, hence why that willingness to learn is so important. You might be the cleverest person in the whole school currently, but you could come to work and not have a clue what you're doing. So grades aren't everything at the end of the day. As long as you show up with a positive attitude, you can smash whatever challenges comes your way, because you will adapt and you will learn from things. When you apply for apprenticeships, you need to research the company that you're applying for. Take that initiative to find the company's values and mention how you as an individual can possess those values, because those will mean you're like the standout application. During the application process, you also need to ask as many questions as possible, because although the employer is going to be interviewing you, you also need to interview them. An apprenticeship, like I said, takes 3 to 5 years, so it's quite a large chunk of your life. So is the company going to be a right fit for you? If you are successful, congratulations. The hard work will begin straight away though. Engineering isn't easy, so you need to make sure that you're on top of all your work. Time management and organisation is really important. You need to take every learning opportunity that is offered to you, because the more you know, the more successful you're going to end up. No one is expecting you to know anything on your first day, so don't be afraid to ask those questions. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this session today, it's that you don't have to have everything figured out right now. When I was sitting where you are, I'd never considered civil engineering. I didn't know what temporary works were, and I didn't know I'd be ended up here doing this. So, like I say, stay open to every opportunity, work hard, and say yes to something that might feel slightly outside of your comfort zone. Because, like I say, until the last year of sixth form, I'd never once considered an apprenticeship, and I was under the impression that apprenticeships were all labouring on-site plumbing, but I was clearly very wrong. Whether you choose A-levels, university, or an apprenticeship, or something completely different, you need to focus on building skills, be curious, ask questions, learn how to manage time, learn how to communicate properly, because those are the skills that will take you anywhere in life. Don't let one subject, one bad test, or one moment of self-doubt convince you that you're not capable, because you absolutely are. You're far more capable than you think, and the decisions that you start making now could lead you somewhere that you've never imagined. In year 7, you might be thinking that you don't even need to start considering what you want to do in your future. But the sooner you start to think about it, the more skills that you can acquire and the better that CV is going to look in a few years' time. And the same applies to year 11 students. It's not too late to start trying now, because there are apprentices that I work with that are 30, 40, 50 years old, so you've still got plenty of time to decide what you want to do with your life. On the next slide, I've put some websites and links to things that I found quite useful when I was in your position. So it's like the National Careers website, the government website for apprenticeships, and you can go onto like LinkedIn to look at the companies and stuff. Thank you very much for listening. If anyone's got any questions, my email address is on the final slide, or there is a box where you can post some questions in there too.
Molly, thank you so much for sharing your story today, and especially around your journey from school to where you are now. We are going to come to a Q&A section, so just as a reminder, if you did have any questions, please submit them into the chat. I did have plenty of questions for you, Molly, actually, to be fair, but most of them have been answered as you've gone through. I think the key one for me in the moment, so where are you at in terms of your journey with being an apprentice? Are you midway through, halfway through? How long have you done? How long have you got left?
So I'm currently 3 years into a 5-year degree apprenticeship scheme. So I've got a remaining 2 years left. I've been attending university on the day release basis. So the 3-year course is kind of spread out over that 5 years. So although I am 3 years in, I've actually gone from the design apprentice to a design engineer as my official title, and I also coordinate work for the north of England and Scotland. So although I am still an apprentice, I'm still training, I'm still learning, I do get to work on real live projects, and I allocate work to other qualified engineers as well.
I think that is something that's definitely worth celebrating. It's monumental in scale as well. You've been in the organisation for 3 years and you're leading on all this fantastic work, and you are in the position that you're in now, no doubt through plenty of hard work, you know, a couple of long days, I imagine, and plenty of spinning plates between assignments, university work, and then actually your day-to-day job as well. I think my final question for you is, I'm sure you've probably got a lot of friends similar your age that have taken the traditional university route. What are the comparatives maybe between your journey and their journey? So do you still have access to that social life that you've got through university? Have you still got access to that network of peers around you? Talk to me a little bit more about that.
So I'd say compared to the full-time students that I attend university with, obviously the social life aspect is slightly reduced, but you do still have your evenings and your weekends, and you also have more money than them because you are getting paid to learn. So while they might have all the free days off at university, you've kind of got the money to go and enjoy yourself on the weekends and stuff like that. Regarding the learning aspect of it, I've still got access to everything that they've got access to, but as I was told on my first day as an apprentice, as a university student, you are one student in a room of 100 other students with one lecturer, but then I come to work and I'm one apprentice in a room full of 40 plus engineers who are all fully qualified. So any questions and stuff that I've got from university, I just come into work and I ask the engineer that I sit next to, and so it's more like tailored to what I do, because I can kind of go out and ask the relevant people the questions. So I do feel more supported on the apprenticeship scheme.
Molly, that's amazing. And obviously, you know, you can draw them parallels between what you're learning in the classroom, what's theoretical, and then the very next day you're putting it into practice, and you can speak
Absolutely,
to these,
yeah.
very experienced engineers and very experienced colleagues around you. I think it's some fantastic exposure, and I'm sure, no doubt, your professional network has grown as a result of that as well. We've not had any other questions come through, so I'm going to draw today's session to a close. But Molly, again, a massive thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for Steve Lee over at MGF as well for their support in putting this together with us. Just a reminder to everybody who's viewing today, so we sent out a warm-up activity, a pre-session activity, that is there to support you learning more about the engineering and manufacturing sector. It's got some labour market information. If you don't have access to that, please ask for your teacher to share that with you, and we'll make sure that's sent around again after today's session. A couple of digital tools from us that can sort of build on the knowledge that you've learned today and especially support you during your journey over National Careers Week. So we've got GMCA, so that's the Greater Manchester Apprenticeship and Careers Service website. It's designed to help you plan your future, so it's packed full of advice, tips, information. It's got some employee case studies, it's got some employer facing materials as well, so you're speaking directly from industry as well. And it's to support you with that clear line of sight, and building into that, again, is Beeline. So Beeline can support you with tailoring your own journey, so looking at where you are right now to where you want to be in the future. It can give you guidance around what courses you may like to take, what options and pathways are available across Greater Manchester. So we've heard today, you know, we've got universities, we've got apprenticeships, but we also have vocational courses like T levels. There's plenty of resources out there for you to access. One final thing from me today. So if you've liked today's session, you want to find out a little bit more about what happens behind the scenes. So when I'm not on the live camera and when we're not working with employers, follow us on the Your GMAX Instagram page or the GMAX-GM YouTube page as well. You'll find a plethora of resources out there, including more of the sessions that we've run today. That's everything from me. So thank you so much for joining, and have a fantastic morning and a fantastic week. Thank you so much.